Actor Alec Baldwin and weapons handler Hannah Reid have been charged with 2 sets of involuntary manslaughter charges each. The charges come after a year-long investigation into the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the film set of Rust. Alec Baldwin was holding the gun that killed Hutchins, while Hannah Reid loaded the weapon. They each face 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. According to the New Mexico law, one carries a sentence of 18 months max, the other a max or mandatory of 5 years. With us to break down the legal aspect is attorney Rachel Fiset. Rachel, thank you so much for being with us to make some sense of all this. And let's just begin with the decision by the DA to file charges. Some people surprised, some people not at all. How much of it was the facts of the case? How much of it was the political pressure to file charges against Alec Baldwin?
It's hard to say. I am one of the people who are a bit surprised that the charges were filed against Alec Baldwin. I did expect charges, particularly against David Hall, who obviously was charged and pled as the assistant director in charge of safety. I thought there might be some other producers charged as it relates to safety on the set and perhaps negligence there. But it looks like what happened here is the prosecutors in New Mexico focused on the actual incident. So they were focusing on the actual day of gun handling and the shooting of the gun. So there were 2 ways to take this case. One was workplace safety violations that had happened through the set and knowledge of those, and this way, which was to focus on the exact incident at hand, and that is what they did.
Right, so you talked about negligence. That's a key element of these involuntary manslaughter charges. One is involuntary manslaughter, one is involuntary manslaughter in commission of a lawful act. If you could just talk about the distinction between these two and how the legal standard on negligence would work in this case.
Involuntary manslaughter means they do not have to show intent. And that's important. There aren't a lot of crimes out there where you can charge someone without having to show intent. And involuntary manslaughter is one of them. But instead of intent as an intentional crime, what the prosecutors need to show is that there was basically a conscious disregard for human life, or there was so much carelessness that there was no exercise of caution that becomes so negligent that it is a criminal act. And that's really what they are going to have to show. Basically, for either one of the charges, there's a slight standard difference that the jury may or may not understand, but it's basically a conscious disregard for the human life that was lost.
Right. So, Rachel, let's talk about negligence. We're saying conscious disregard. There's also this idea, the reasonable person standard, that he should have known that there was this danger. And a lot of people who weren't surprised by charges coming say, well, there's Alec Baldwin, the actor, but there's also Alec Baldwin, the producer. There were misfires of guns on the set. There were safety issues. He was a producer. Just talk about how negligence would work in terms of being a reasonable actor, or as he was, a reasonable producer.
So the reasonable person standard is more of a civil standard. Once it rises to a criminal standard, there is a bit more negligence that needs to be shown to be charged with a crime for negligence. But as a producer, I think that they will have to show, if they are charging him in that capacity, that he had knowledge that there were safety violations on the set and he disregarded them. And that's where things start to become unreasonable and disregarding something so severe as bullets on the set or live ammunition on the set. And
Right.
they may have text messages that show he knew that this kind of thing was a possibility, that a loaded gun on this set was possible, and he didn't check the gun he had anyway. And that's where they
Right.
start to make their case.
Yeah, it certainly makes it interesting. I mean, there was documentation of safety issues on the set. As you say, these text messages, what he actually knew is going to be a big part of it. Rachel Fiset, thank you so much for giving us some sense of this. There's going to be a lot more to talk about. We look forward to having you back again.
Thank you.